President Biden has nominated a permanent leader for the Office of Federal Financial Management at OMB. That nominee is Laurel Blatchford, former chief of staff at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. If the Senate confirms her, Blatchford will be the first permanent OMB controller in almost 5 years. Danny Werfel is former controller at the Office of Management and Budget and former acting commissioner of the IRS. He's currently managing director and partner at Boston Consulting Group. Danny, welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mimi.
Before we start with the actual interview, the community lost somebody very special recently, and you wanted to reflect on that.
Yeah, I mean, when the CFO Act created the Office of Federal Financial Management, which Laurel Blatchford will lead if she's confirmed, the person who took the helm the first day is Hal Steinberg, and we lost Hal last week. He passed away after a short battle with cancer. He was just a giant in federal financial management and government accounting, and just so passionate about the world of financial management, and did so much to advance it over the course of his career, and just wanted to reflect on all of his contributions. He was a mentor to me and a mentor to many of the people that held the position of controller, so we will miss you, Hal.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. This position that we're talking about has been vacant for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's an awfully long time. Why has it been vacant for so long?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's maybe a matter of circumstance. In the last administration, there were a couple of different people that were either rumored or put forward, or the community thought this is going to be the next controller. And for whatever reason, and I don't have the background, you know, these things, sometimes they don't go through, and you hope that there's a persistence to get another nominee in place. It didn't happen, but I know the community is excited to have a permanent controller. I know the people at OMB, and specifically the office that this person runs, the Office of Federal Financial Management, a talented group of people that are just dedicated to the financial management mission. I know they're excited to have a permanent controller in place.
So what will be the biggest priorities? I mean, besides wiping off the dust off the desk, what is she going to need to be doing?
Well, I think first and foremost, you know, there's a lot of spending going on right now. The American Rescue Plan, stimulus spending, if President Biden's infrastructure bill goes through, whenever you have an increase in the amount of money going out the door, it creates tension and stress on the system. Things like, we got to track all of that. We have to make it transparent on USA spending, where the money's going. We have to capture that information and make sure that there aren't improper payments and fraud and error. And a lot of that cross-government coordination rests in the hand of the controller. So she'll be coming on in a place where we're in an increased spending world and an increased risk world. And there'll be organizations like GAO and the IGs looking at all of this. And I could imagine a future hearing where Ms. Blatchford's going to be testifying and having to explain, here's why the improper payments, or here's why we didn't get the information on usaspending.gov quickly enough, or maybe, and hopefully she'll be celebrating the successes.
The next OMB controller will also control the real estate of the federal government, which is going to be very interesting given the, return to work, all the people that are still teleworking. Talk about that authority and what's that going to mean? I
mean, it's one of the more fascinating challenges that the controller will have, because right now we're kind of at a crossroads in terms of the use of administrative facilities, not just in government, but all across industries and all across the world. And what do you do with the fact that there may be a bigger push for telework, less requirements for federal space that is needed. There are so many key questions that need to be answered that are connected both to our human capital plan around telework and recruiting and retention, because we could lose talented people who go to different industries that have more flexible telework. Yet we don't want to lose what makes the government special about our culture and our connectivity. Those questions will be answered, and as they're answered, it also has a big impact on our real estate needs. And the controller will have that seat at the table and have to help drive with GSA the future direction that the government takes in terms of our real property.
Well, you mentioned working with GSA, but when it comes to pandemic spending in particular, what are the other agencies that the OMB controller will have to work with and collaborate with?
Well, the first thing I think the first and foremost thing that the OMB controller needs to do is lead the Office of Federal Financial Management. That's their first priority. But very close second is working with each CFO, the chief financial officer of each agency, essentially as a dotted line relationship to the controller. And one way to describe the controller's functions is it leads the CFO community on enterprise efforts. It establishes the train schedules that all the CFOs have to abide by, but then also works with the CFO community to figure out what's the next set of train schedules that we want to develop. Well, the train schedules are very difficult right now with just the current train schedules, with, as I mentioned, with all the spending that's going on. First priority is to do no harm and make sure that that money is going out in a transparent and efficient way. But also, where are we evolving to? Like, what technologies are we going to leverage? How can we do even better in terms of serving the citizenry with good transparency of our finances and getting them involved? So there's a lot on the plate.
So what do you recommend to her, assuming she gets confirmed by the Senate?
Well, the first thing I like to recommend to new leaders is go on a listening tour. Like, listen to the civil servants at OMB and around government and the recent political appointees. What are they seeing on the ground? What's keeping them up at night? What's their ambition and their aspiration? Gather a lot of information. Be the type of leader that's collaborating. I mean, she should go in saying, I have some ideas, but I really want to hear from the community around what's our state of the union in financial management and where we should go from there. And then she can take that information and together with a group of CFOs and with the civil servants at OMB and the agencies, formulate a plan going forward.
Do you miss being in the government?
Of course I miss being in the government. I mean, it's there's nothing like it. I will say this about the government. The highs are very high, the lows are very low. But there's nothing like, and this is the point about real property, there was no feeling like walking into a government building, you know, seeing the picture of the president, the vice president, the leader of the agency on the wall. It doesn't matter whether it was Republican or Democrat, and just feeling like you're a part of a solution and part of fighting for better government, better outcomes for Americans in the world. Amazing feeling.
Danny, thank you so much, as always, for being on the program.
Thank you, Mimi.